record of agreements and disagreements at different times. Tonight, this afternoon, we are agreed. Of course, I give way.
Full to my right honourable friend for giving way. In response to my right honourable and learned friend, the member for Rushcliffe, he said, for the government to ignore a motion of this House would be constitutionally very unusual. But it has to be said the process being gone through this afternoon is constitutionally deeply irregular.
Correct answer.
Well, I'm particularly glad that my very distinguished honourable friend has participated in this part of our proceedings, because he hasn't, as it happens, though he's an assiduous attender at debates, obviously, he hasn't, as it happens, ever had the horror of having to listen to me on this subject before, because he hasn't been present when I've been speaking about it. And I've tried to say to those who were present on each occasion that the proposition he's just advanced is manifestly false. And the reason why it's manifestly false is this. The fact is that the order paper of the House of Commons, this is the most ancient principle of our Constitution, as a matter of fact, the order paper of the House of Commons is governed by the standing orders of the House of Commons, and the standing orders of the House of Commons are the property of the House of Commons, of nobody else, not of the executive, but of the House of Commons. And the courts recognise that in the principle that they apply, the principle of comity. They never interfere in the proceedings of our House, and that goes back not to the 1906 moment when the government, as in my view, improperly instituted the Standing Order 14 in its current form, but way back into the origins of, I will in a moment, way back into the origins of Parliament, where Parliament from the very beginning sought to establish its right, through you, Mr. Speaker, and otherwise, to control its own proceedings. And that's a very proper thing for Parliament to do, and we have been driven to doing this in an extreme emergency, as some of us see it. I know he has taken a rather different view, but in our view, this is an extreme emergency. We've driven to take it. We're doing it in a perfectly proper way through the amendment of standing orders, which it lies open to this House to make. And now, of course, I can wait.
I can't entirely agree with this constitutional proposition the right honourable gentleman, my right honourable friend, is putting forward. He will recall that in the Tudor House of Commons it was Privy Councillors who guided the business within the House. It is of the greatest antiquity that the business of the House is guided by those representing the sovereign in Parliament, and that principle is being eroded by today's proceedings.
Well, I little imagined that we would find ourselves debating the sequence of our constitutional history, but because my honourable friend is genuinely learned in the matter, and this may be my only opportunity ever to have this debate with him in the House of Commons before, thank goodness, I leave it. I want to explain to him that the succeeding history of our country was virtually focused on a debate about that very matter. It was because the House of Commons refused to be dominated by Privy Councillors that all the things that happened in the later 16th and 17th centuries happened. Exactly. And I am on the side of those in this House that I actually thought on the whole he was on the side of, who wished to assert over against the executive that in the end, ultimately, sovereignty lies here and not in Whitehall. Of course I can.